answer is, I will tell you what's in Area 51 unless it's so freaky or scary that I just don't think it would be like a good thing for the American people. But if it's anywhere close to the line, I will share because I would want to know. And I think transparency is a good thing.
I'm just wondering if you would do the math. If everybody gets $1,000 a month, it's over the age of 18, what does that actually cost and how do we pay for it? I know you have a system,
Yeah,
I
no.
really want to hear it.
Oh, no, that's great. Thank you for the question, sir. So the cost you're looking at is around $2.8 trillion a year. So for context, you have an economy of $21 trillion a year right now. We bailed out Wall Street for $4 trillion, and we just gave big companies a $1.5 trillion tax cut a couple of years ago. Just some big numbers to throw out there. So how do you pay for this $1,000 a month for every American? Number one, we get our fair share of every Amazon sale, every Google search, every Facebook ad, every robot truck file. That stuff generates $800 billion to $1 trillion a year, with a big up arrow attached to it, because that stuff's going to speed up. If you succeed in getting self-driving trucks on the highways, how much tax revenue will we see from that right now, given our current system? We will see zero, because the owners of the self-driving truck equipment will be the big tech companies that are paying zero or near zero. So that's what we have to change. We have to make it so that we're actually getting a slice of that value. If we do that, then you get, let's call it $1 trillion in value a year. So $1 trillion is not 2.8, so how do you get the other 1.8, right? You put this money into our hands, it gets spent in our communities. That money actually grows the economy. It grows the consumer economy by 8 to 10%, and we'd get back hundreds of billions of dollars in new revenue because of the fact that people are just spending more money every day in their communities. The garage might hire a new mechanic, the daycare center might hire a new worker, and so all of these new hires end up generating tax revenue. So you get, let's call it conservatively, about $500 billion in new tax revenue. So now you're looking at 1.3 or so as a gap. The next thing, we'd save billions on things like incarceration, homelessness services, emergency room health care. A corrections officer said this to me. He said we should pay people to stay out of jail because it costs so much when they're in jail. And this is someone who works in prisons and sees how much gets spent as soon as someone shows up. We think we're being smart by not spending money on people. We just end up spending more money on them in much more expensive and punitive ways when they hit our institutions, because we know our institutions are incredibly costly. Same thing is true about our emergency rooms, to a lesser extent our shelters. So you'd save billions on the things we're already spending over $1 trillion on. And then the fourth component, which is maybe the best part, if you put this money into our hands, it has the effect of making our families stronger, healthier, mentally healthier, more productive. And one study showed that it would increase GDP by $700 billion a year just on the basis of better education and health outcomes of our people. Because you put this money into families' hands, then everyone starts doing better, and you end up with a lot of value. Then the last piece, which is the most speculative piece, do you think that there are going to be more people starting businesses in a society where everyone's getting $1,000 a month? Taking more risks, doing things that are value add in our communities? So if you put any amount on that, you end up getting to a point where the trickle-up economy largely pays for itself. But the big move you have to make is get our fair share of the Amazons and Googles and Facebooks and Apples, because they are making out like bandits, just sucking up tens of billions of dollars in value that we're not seeing any of. In a country where 78% of us are living paycheck to paycheck, and almost half of us can't afford an unexpected $500 bill, you put $1,000 into our hands, you know we're going to spend the money. We're going to spend the money in our communities in ways that actually end up circulating over and over again. If you snuck into Jeff Bezos' bank account and gave him an extra $1,000, how much would that impact the economy? Literally zero. They wouldn't even notice. It would just be like a digit change. So what we have to do is balance it out so that money is going into the hands of Americans that would actually spend it. And that will end up strengthening the economy in really, really productive ways. Sure.
What could you do to promote biodiesel and ethanol for farmers who need the markets?
Now, I'm a fan of ethanol. They brought me to an ethanol plant here in Iowa, and they walked me through the numbers and the trends. I think it's a really great use of our natural resources. It's like a very clean fuel. I know there was a story where Tom Harkin drank it on the Senate floor. This happened. You guys don't know this? He was like, ethanol is so great, you can drink it. And he drank it, and then he apparently got totally like plastered immediately, and then they had to like cut him off the. But it sort of did the trick. I mean, obviously made an impression on me because I'm telling you the story. So I'm pro ethanol, pro biodiesel. I think that having that source of energy is really important as part of a sustainable future. These are fun questions. Oh, look at that, Conrad. Way to run it.
It's running.
In so many ways. Like we're paying for it because our rates are sky high. We're paying for it because the number one cause of bankruptcy. We're paying for it because we can't switch jobs. But we're also paying for it just in the amount of raw money that's flowing into our healthcare system. $3.6 trillion a year. And the system is not designed to make us stronger and healthier. What's it designed to do? Make money for the drug companies, the insurance companies, and the device manufacturers. So if you actually get in there and start rationalizing some of the costs that are in the system, we can get healthcare to every American very, very straightforwardly. I'm not someone who would legislate away private insurance. I think the goal of the government has to be to provide coverage that Americans like, and then we can outcompete the private insurers and push them out of the market. But we need to get everyone health care, because right now it's breaking our backs. I'm going to tell two stories in the healthcare system that speak to how messed up it is. My father-in-law had a stroke, and he was recovering, and they said, hey, you're going to be on blood thinners for the rest of your life. So he said, hey, I'd like to see a dietitian and see if I can actually just modify my lifestyle. So what did the insurance company say? Yeah, we will not pay for a dietitian. We will only pay for your drugs. And he was like, wait a minute, I'm trying to save you money. Because lifetime of drugs versus dietitian, it seems like the dietitian's a no-brainer. And they were like, no, only the drugs. So he paid for the dietitian out of pocket and then got himself off of the drugs. But he was like, why did I have to fight the insurance companies to do something that was better for me, better for everyone, better for the bottom line? And it's because their system's not designed to help make him healthier. The other story is that there are a number of them in the country, but the Cleveland Clinic pays doctors a flat salary, and then all of a sudden you saw the amount of procedures they prescribed go down because all of a sudden they weren't getting paid more if they said you need more. And then what happened to patients' health outcomes? They went up. The fact is, when doctors aren't getting paid based upon revenue and activity, they actually prescribe less. Because they look at you and say, hey, you know what? There might be some other approaches to this. Maybe you go home, get healthy. Like, that'll actually work better than me sticking this thing in you or giving you these drugs. So we have to change the incentives within our system, and then we can get healthcare coverage up, costs down very, very quickly. But I'm committed to universal healthcare in this country. It should be a right for all of us. All right, so thank you all so much. We need you to caucus.